Marriage traditions around the world vary greatly, often reflecting the unique cultural, social, and historical contexts of each region. Among these customs, dowries and bride prices have persisted for centuries, evolving over time yet remaining deeply ingrained in many societies. A dowry involves the bride's family transferring money, property, or goods to the groom's family, while a bride price is a payment made by the groom's family to the bride's family. In modern times, these practices often become transactional, raising concerns about gender inequality and the commodification of women. In some regions, the amounts exchanged can be as low as $35, highlighting both economic struggles and the continued perpetuation of societal inequities. You won't believe what happens next. Watch the entire video for an unforgettable twist. And make sure to comment on which country's bride had you on the edge of your seat. 10. South Korea. South Korea, a nation renowned for its rapid modernization and technological advancements, has experienced significant changes in marriage traditions over the years. Historically, dowries played an important role in marriage arrangements. The bride's family would provide a dowry to the groom's family, symbolizing a contribution to the new household and compensating for the loss of their daughter. In return, the groom's family often gave gifts to the bride's family as part of the exchange. With South Korea's emergence as one of Asia's most developed nations, these traditional practices have largely faded in urban areas like Seoul, where marriages are now commonly based on love and equality. However, in some rural regions, particularly those facing economic hardships, dowries and bride prices still persist as part of long-standing cultural customs. While these practices are diminishing, they continue to highlight the intersection of tradition and modernity in contemporary South Korean society. 9. China. In China, dowries and bride prices are deeply rooted traditions that persist in many parts of the country, particularly in rural areas where cultural practices hold strong. Historically, the bride price represented the groom's commitment to the marriage and served as a way to honor the bride's family. While modernization and changing attitudes toward gender equality have significantly reduced the prevalence of this custom in urban centers, it remains a vital part of marriage negotiations in rural communities. In these areas, the groom's family typically provides money, gifts, or other goods to the bride's family before the marriage. The amount varies widely based on the economic circumstances and social status of the families involved. In poorer regions, bride prices can be as low as $35, reflecting the economic hardships faced by many. Unfortunately, in such cases, the practice often shifts from being a symbol of respect to a transactional exchange, raising concerns about the commodification of women in marriage arrangements. If you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. 8. Malaysia. In Malaysia, the tradition of dowries, known locally as mas kawin, remains an integral aspect of marriage, especially within Malay and Muslim communities. This payment, made by the groom to the bride as part of the marriage contract, symbolizes the groom's commitment and his responsibility to provide for his wife. While this custom is deeply rooted in cultural and religious practices, it also shapes perceptions of women's roles in marriage. The amount of the dowry varies significantly, depending on the family's financial circumstances. In some poorer communities, it can be as low as $35. Traditionally, the dowry was intended as a gesture of respect and a form of financial security for the bride. However, in certain rural or economically disadvantaged regions, this custom has increasingly taken on a transactional nature. In such cases, the dowry often reflects the financial struggles of both families, reducing its symbolic value. This shift can sometimes lead to a commodification of women, as their worth in marriage becomes tied to the dowry amount, rather than their individuality and autonomy. 7. Egypt. In Egypt, dowries have been a long-standing tradition and remain a central aspect of marriage customs. Historically, the groom's family would provide a payment to the bride's family as part of the marriage arrangement, symbolizing respect and ensuring the bride's financial security. These dowries often include money, goods, or property, with the amount determined by the social and economic status of the families involved. While the practice has become more symbolic in urban areas, it continues to hold significant importance in rural and economically disadvantaged regions. In some cases, especially in poorer communities, dowries can be as low as $35. This shift reflects the economic hardships faced by many families and highlights the transactional nature that dowries can sometimes take. What was once a gesture of respect and support can now perpetuate the view of women as commodities, with their value tied to the financial terms of the marriage agreement. This underscores the need for evolving societal attitudes toward gender equality and the role of women in marriage. 6. Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, dowries were once a cornerstone of marriage traditions, particularly in rural areas. Historically, the dowry functioned as a form of financial security for the bride, ensuring her stability in case of widowhood or the dissolution of the marriage. It often consisted of valuable items like clothing, jewelry, household goods, or even livestock, symbolizing the bride's family's wealth and her social standing within the marriage. In recent years, dowries have largely fallen out of practice, especially in urban areas where modern values emphasizing gender equality and shared financial responsibilities in marriage prevail. However, in some rural and economically disadvantaged regions, the tradition lingers, though often in a simplified form. In these communities, dowries can sometimes amount to as little as $35, reflecting the economic hardships faced by many families. This adaptation underscores the evolving nature of the custom, which now often serves more as a token gesture than a significant financial provision. 5. Vietnam. In Vietnam, the tradition of paying a bride price remains a significant aspect of marriage customs, particularly in rural areas and among ethnic minority groups. Though not a universal practice across the country, it holds deep cultural importance in regions where traditional values are still upheld. Historically, the bride price symbolized respect for the bride's family, compensating them for the loss of their daughter while demonstrating the groom's financial readiness to provide for a family. The payment often consisted of money, gold, or valuable goods, with the amount varying depending on the economic conditions and local customs of the community. While modernization and changing attitudes have lessened the prevalence of this tradition in urban areas, it continues to thrive in rural regions. In economically disadvantaged areas, the bride price can be modest, sometimes as low as $35, reflecting the financial struggles faced by families. This practice, while rooted in respect, can also highlight the challenges of balancing tradition with evolving societal norms around gender equality and marriage. 4. South Africa. In South Africa, the practice of lobola $35 is a significant tradition, especially among African communities such as the Zulu, Xhosa, and Tswana. The groom pays lobola to the bride's family, symbolizing respect and formalizing the union between families. Historically, lobola not only demonstrated the groom's commitment and ability to provide but also ensured the bride's financial security. The payment traditionally included livestock, money, or valuable goods, with the amount depending on the social standing of both families. While the practice has evolved, with urban areas favoring monetary payments, livestock remains common in rural regions. Despite some concerns about commodifying women, lobola remains a powerful cultural symbol of respect, unity, and commitment in many South African communities. 3. India. India's dowry system is one of the most controversial marriage traditions, with deep roots in the country's social, cultural, and economic fabric. Although officially banned by the Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961, the practice continues to thrive, especially in rural areas and among certain communities. In traditional marriages, the bride's family is expected to provide a dowry to the groom's family, which may include money, gold, property, or other valuable items. The dowry is often seen as compensation to the groom's family for accepting the bride. Over time, dowries have escalated to large sums, causing significant financial strain on the bride's family and perpetuating gender inequality, despite legal efforts to curb the practice. 2. Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, arranged marriages are a deeply rooted cultural practice, with dowries playing a significant role in the marriage process. Historically, the dowry was intended to provide financial security for the bride and her family, compensating for the loss of their daughter who would move into her husband's home. However, in many rural and economically disadvantaged areas, the dowry system has shifted into a transactional arrangement, sometimes as low as $35, where women are perceived as commodities to be bought. This shift reflects the difficult economic conditions in these regions, where families view dowries as a way to ease financial hardship. The practice has become a financial exchange rather than a symbol of respect, reducing women's worth to their monetary value, and perpetuating gender inequality. 1. Latvia. In Latvia, the tradition of dowries, once a key part of marriage customs, has largely disappeared in modern times. However, traces of this practice remain,
particularly in rural areas and among older generations.
Historically, a dowry was provided by the bride's family to support her as she entered marriage, and it also served as compensation to the groom's family for adding the bride to their household. The dowry symbolized the bride's value and the seriousness of the union. Typically, the dowry included money, livestock, land, or valuable household items, reflecting both economic security and the bride's family's social status. While the practice has diminished in urban centers, it persists in rural communities where traditional customs continue to be valued. The practice of dowries and bride prices, where women can sometimes be bought for as little as $35, remains a deeply ingrained tradition in various parts of the world, particularly in rural and economically disadvantaged communities. Despite ongoing legal reforms and shifts in societal attitudes, these customs continue to perpetuate gender inequality by commodifying women and reducing their worth to monetary transactions in marriage. As societies progress, it is essential to challenge these outdated traditions, advocate for gender equality, and celebrate the intrinsic value of women beyond financial exchanges. True change requires a collective effort enacting stronger legal protections, fostering cultural shifts, and empowering women to shape their futures with autonomy and dignity. Together, we can work toward a future where marriage is a union built on respect, equality, and love. If this video left you thinking, don't forget to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping content.